Hi, and welcome to Best in Tesla News episode 251. The Cybertruck shows off Tesla's lead in efficiency and why the others can't keep up in cost. And the European EV sales might be down so slightly, but it is basically driven by one country. And one company might be at risk of bankruptcy within the next 12 months or so. And Tesla is making big discounts in China and everywhere else basically on their cars, while the new energy vehicles in China is continuing to rise. And Mercedes-Benz has reinvented the EV brakes. And BYD is coming out with their next generation blade battery technology. And Tesla's Optimus robot gets a new hand. And Tesla is still sitting at the top of the BEV race, with Lucid scraping the bottom. And Full Self-Driving version 13 is coming out soon and should be fire. All of this and much more in today's episode. Let's dive right in.
Let's put our living stereo stylus in this groove.
The Cybertruck shows off Tesla's lead in efficiency and why the others can't keep up in cost. Autospec's review made a side-by-side range test of the Rivian R1T and the Cybertruck with the longest range models from both brands. And on their EPA range, the Rivian, with the tires and configuration they had, got 420 miles of range, while the Cybertruck, with the configuration it had 325 miles of range. So the EPA difference was 95 miles, so almost 100 miles in difference. But Tesla also had the smaller battery of the two, and Tesla's is 123 kilowatt hours and the Rivian is 140 kilowatt hours. And in the test they were able to get 121 kilowatt hours out of the Cybertruck and 141 kilowatt out of the Rivian. So of course the Rivian should have much longer range, as the Cybertruck is a bigger truck with a smaller battery. But that is actually not the case in real world side-by-side comparison they did with these two trucks, because the real world range they got from the Cybertruck was 252 miles before it died, and 266 miles for the Rivian before it died. So that almost 100 miles advantage to the Rivian should have had with their smaller truck and 17% bigger battery was only 14 miles. And as they said in the review of the trucks, the Cybertruck might have been able to do even more, as the Cybertruck was not a new truck, so it was missing 2 kilowatt hours, and it had been sitting for 15 minutes to wait for the Rivian to be done charging. So the difference between the two trucks might be very insignificant in the real world, as Tesla's Cybertruck is just much more efficient. It did 2.1 miles per kilowatt hour, whereas the Rivian did 1.89 miles per kilowatt hour. So I know many people was disappointed that Tesla didn't make the 500 miles range Cybertruck, but as Tesla has explained, it didn't make sense, as most people would never use all of that range, and you would get a worse performing truck if you had to drive around with all that extra weight in your truck you didn't need. But if you belong to that few percentage of people that really need a 500 mile range of truck for towing, Tesla made the range extender, and then you will get 440 miles of range. And looking at this test, that might be equal to like 500 miles for any other truck. Don't know what EPA does for a range test, but something is clearly wrong here, as it doesn't get much better than a side-by-side test in the exact same weather conditions and so on. But anyway, Tesla can put less batteries in their cars than anyone else and still get close to the same range. Like the Ford F-150 Lightning has 131 kilowatt hours, and you will only get 320 miles of range on that bigger battery. GM Silverado EV has 200 kilowatt hours, even more, as Autospec's review has shown before. You can get like 215 kilowatt out of that truck. Huge battery, and also why we know that GM is losing a ton of money on selling those EVs with those insane big batteries, as Ford is already losing a lot of money on their Lightning that has about 80 kilowatt hours less battery in them. And that also means the Silverado EV also has more than 1,000 pounds less payload capacity because it is a much heavier truck than the Cybertruck. So the handling of the Cybertruck is going to be much better than the very heavy Silverado. And we also saw a video this week on how much it means in turning radius that the Cybertruck have rear wheel steering. And it does that with very little movement on the steering wheel as well because of the steer-by-wire. This truck is just insane. And is the most efficient EV truck out there for now, and that will also save you a lot of money in the long run when you get the same kind of mileage but with 20 kilowatt hour smaller battery. So if you're driving something like 15,000 miles a year, you should easily save something like $500 a year by owning a Cybertruck compared to a Rivian. And Tesla probably saves something like $3,000 or even more per battery pack compared to Rivian. And GM is probably paying something like $13,000 to $14,000 more for their battery pack for their Silverado. And Tesla will also be able to make more Cybertruck with less batteries than anyone else. So every time Tesla has built like 6 Cybertrucks, they can make one battery pack for free compared to Rivian that use 20 kilowatt hours battery more. Or every time GM makes just 2 Silverados, Tesla can make 3.5 Cybertrucks for the same amount of batteries. No wonder this beast has become the best-selling EV pickup truck in the US.
And the European EV auto market is down, only so slightly, but it is basically driven by Germany. And the rest of the top 5 auto markets are actually up in Europe in 2024.
The top 5 auto markets for electric vehicles in Europe account together for 2/3 of all BEV sales in Europe. 66% year-to-date here in 2024. Number 1 is Germany with 312,000 units, in UK 300,000, in France 238,000, Belgium 109,000, and the Netherlands 101,000. So when I have said throughout all of 2024 that Germany cancelling the EV subsidies is going to hurt the European EV sales because they are such a big part of the car market, here we can see that out of the 1.6 million EVs sold in Europe in 2024 year-to-date, Germany stands for around 20% of that sales. So when they are having trouble selling EVs, the rest of the market will feel it. As you can also see so far in 2024, Germany is down 26.6% from 424,000 sold in the same period in 2023. So if Germany could just have sold as many EVs in 2024 as they did in 2023, we would not have been down in EV sales. As you can see, we are only down by 1.7% year to date, or about 27,000 units. But Germany is down about 113,000 units. So if Germany wasn't down 26% in EV sales and simply made the same amount as last year, we would not be down in BEV sales at all. So cutting an incentive will no doubt make a short-term effect in the BEV sales, like we also saw in the UK that cut incentive back in 2022. But they are back growing and are up 14% in 2024 year to date. But Germany is also slowly coming back, as we saw in September BEV sales were actually up at 9%, but the overall market was actually down 7%. And we also have to remember when we talk about Germany's BEV sales that August in 2023 was an abnormal big month for BEVs. So the 2023 numbers will also look very big compared to 2024 that have not seen such a big month in 2024. And EVs incentives are gone, making their BEVs suddenly about 4,500 euros more expensive. But we also have to keep in mind that the overall car market in Germany has actually not grown this year, but is slightly down. Only less than 1%, but still not growing the auto market in 2024, and BEVs incentives are gone, so of course it will have a big effect on the overall BEV market in Europe when they drop 26% in sales. Luckily, the other 4 of the biggest markets that represent 66% of the entire market are all up in 2024. So that is why BEV sales are basically on par with last year's numbers, only down 1.7% despite Germany's fall. And even though Tesla sales are down in Germany, they still have the best-selling BEV in the country with the Tesla Model Y. But one thing that is going to make a huge difference next year is that we will get a new stricter CO2 emission target, so the legacy automakers are going to be forced to push out more electric vehicles, as only BMW of the legacy automakers seems to be on track for 2025 emission targets. And at the same time, we will also get lower utility rates for hybrids, so that will put even more pressure on the legacy automakers to make even more BEVs, as all the many hybrids will suddenly no longer give them the same amount of emission credits. So we will no doubt see some huge growth in BEV sales here in Europe next year, and Tesla will also come with 2 more affordable models, putting even more pressure on the legacy automakers to try to keep up, as Tesla already sits on 15% of the BEV market in Europe, as the best-selling BEV brand, and in Q4 actually on par with Q4 of last year. So still looking very strong in Europe as well.
And we have some legacy automakers that are worse off than others, and many of the Japanese automakers are not looking too strong in the EV shift, and might be at risk of bankruptcy within the next 12 months or so.
Nissan situation is alarming. The company has a 12 to 14 month to survive, said 2 unnamed Nissan executives in an interview with Financial Times. A new report suggests that the automaker's days are numbered. This is going to be tough, and in the end, we need Japan and the US to be generating cash, they said. Nissan is reportedly looking for a new long-term investor, such as a bank or large insurance group, to replace some of Renault's equity holdings. The company also hasn't ruled out the possibility of a long-term rival Honda taking a major stake in the company, saying all options are on the table. Nissan recently signed a partnership with Honda and Mitsubishi for long-term EV development. Yes, those 3 companies are not looking very strong in the shift to EVs. If the other legacy automakers are like fashionable late to the party, well, the Japanese are still looking for the party. So this is the 3 of the worst EV companies on the planet teaming up. So don't think that team up is going to be much help. They need to team up with someone that actually have better EV technology than they have. So it is looking very grim from Nissan, as the very expensive shift to EVs has hardly started and they are already on the cusp of bankruptcy. From 2017 to 2023, Nissan lost almost 2.4 million units in sales, down from 5.8 to 3.4 million units sold. So they are not bringing in a lot of money, as their net income margin is only about 3.3%, where someone like Tesla has over 13% in net income. And Nissan only has about $15 billion in cash on hand, so less than half of the money that Tesla has. That is not a lot of money for such a big automaker. And Nissan has over $50 billion in debt as well, that they have to pay interest on. So Nissan stands in front of a very expensive shift to EVs, but doesn't really have the financials to do so. And we also see that BYD is going to overtake them here in revenue this year, and Nissan is going to fire about 9,000 employees and slashing production by nearly 20%. Nissan's operating profits dropped 85% in Q3. So things are really not looking good for Nissan. And the crazy thing is, Nissan was one of the first to make an all-electric compact mainstream car, the little Nissan Leaf, back in 2010. So they have been making EVs for 14 years. And before Tesla made the Model 3, it was the best-selling EV in the world. They should be leading in the EV race, but here in 2024, they have only sold about 80,000 units so far, where Tesla, that has actually not made mainstream cars as long as Nissan has, but have sold 1.2 million units so far this year. And if you look at Nissan's new EVs, it's not hard to understand why. Their performance model costs more than Tesla's performance model, but Tesla's Model Y beats it on everything. Twice as fast charging, also because Nissan Array has a huge 91 kilowatt-hour battery, but not longer range than the Tesla. So it will just be more expensive to fill up, and it will take a lot longer. And it is less safe, has less cargo space, less of basically anything, but Nissan is charging more for it. They of course have a front price that is lower, but that is, like so many of the legacy automakers are doing, a very poor version of the car that no one is really going to buy. But because of all of this, Nissan's valuation has also crashed out of the sky. So they only have a market cap of about $10 billion, the same valuation as Rivian. So not a good situation to be in when you are looking to raise capital from investors. Nissan seems to have been resting on their laurels and not taking EVs seriously, and that might end up putting them out of business. And maybe before anyone else of the legacy automakers, just as I made a whole video about 2 years ago.
And Tesla is making big discounts in China on their cars, while the new energy vehicle sales continues to rise.
In November, retail sales of passengers new energy vehicles in China were estimated at 1.28 million units, up 52% year-on-year and up 7% compared to October, according to the Chinese Passenger Car Association. This is the fourth consecutive month China's new energy vehicle has been over 1 million units. They didn't cross 1 million in 2023, so the first time that happened was 4 months ago, and now it is only going up. So we will no doubt see another big month here in December, and then we all know what is going to happen in January, a big drop as always. But the question is, how far will it fall? January has never been more than about 400,000 units in new energy vehicle, but I have a feeling that might end up closer to 600,000 units in Q1 of 2025. If that is the case, it will be up about 50%, just like we see with the sales here in November. But we have to wait and see how much it will drop. And Tesla in China is offering a limited discount for 2 less expensive variants of the Model Y, probably because the crossover's major refresh is not far away. So they want to sell all the Model Ys that they can. And that is actually the trend we are seeing all over the world. Tesla is definitely making a big end of the year push to get over last year's numbers, and I think Tesla has planned that to time with the new refreshed Model Y, so they can sell all the Model Y they have in inventory and get ready for the refreshed Model Y in Q1 of next year, as the Model Y is the best-selling EV Tesla has. So making the shift to the refreshed model would probably not be wise to do in the biggest, most important quarter like Q4, but in the smallest quarter of the year, especially in China, so they don't drop too much in sales because of the retooling of the production line. And we did see just how smooth the ramp was of the refreshed Model 3, so I do think this will go very smoothly for the Model Y as well, as Tesla kind of made a little test with the Model 3 and now are ready for their big seller to make the shift as well. But Xpeng is also on fire at the moment in China, as Xpeng said it saw its 10,000th P7 Plus roll off the assembly line only 20 days after the electric sedan was launched. Now that is some impressive ramp. That is the fastest pace among Chinese new car makers, the electric vehicle maker said on Weibo. Xpeng's factory is in full swing to expand capacity, because even though they are ramping up faster than most others, they still can't keep up with the EV demand in China, as the waiting time for the P7 Plus is still 8 to 11 weeks. But Xpeng has also learned a lesson that the legacy automakers has long forgotten, because in China's highly competitive EV market, quick delivery of new models after launch is seen as critical to capturing initial orders. For Xpeng, a more streamlined selection of versions and faster delivery speed also came from lessons learned from the past. When Xpeng launched the G9 SUV in September 2022, it offered a large number of versions, which provided potential customers with more choice, but also created a lot of confusion. The company tweaked the G9 soon after and began simplifying configuration and speeding up deliveries on subsequent models. Yes, this is what they are supposed to do, make less choices, because that will help the consumer, as I have explained in my production range architecture video. And that also makes their production much easier. So do what Tesla is doing. Simplify their lineup. GM should take notice, because they are basically doing the exact opposite. And let's squeeze in the last short news topics into this news show.
Yes, it's time for the Tesla Shorts.
West Australia Police spent $3.5 million on Starlink data service to unify its multiple connectivity networks. Named the Anywhere Communication Product, the program will see Starlink reseller Vocus supply data service to 122 remote police stations and 550 vehicles across the state. There are just so many use cases for the Starlink all over the world, and they really don't have any competition. And Mercedes-Benz reinvents the EV brakes, putting a circular brake pad inside the drive unit. The disc is water-cooled and it doesn't spin, and the circular pads spin with the motor. There's no traditional calipers either, and scrubbing speed is achieved by pushing the circular pad into the stationary disc. Mercedes says the system shouldn't require service for its lifetime of the vehicle, and all the brake dust it generates is kept inside the system in a compartment that doesn't need to be emptied. Mercedes-Benz said in-drive brakes could provide a lifetime braking solution for electric vehicles with multiple advantages. We know that EV have good regen braking already, reducing the maintenance cost on brakes. I still have the original brake pads on my Tesla Model 3 that I have owned for over 185,000 kilometers, so they should last the lifetime of the car anyway. But what I really like about Mercedes' new brakes here are they are collecting the brake dust, as that is also a huge air polluter in our cities. And NIO has been celebrating its 10th anniversary this week, and its founder, chairman and CEO William Li used the occasion to release an internal letter to all employees emphasizing the next priorities. The next 2 years are crucial for our success. We must keep launching competitive new products and improving our operational efficiency to double our sales next year and achieve profitability in 2026. These are goals we cannot afford to miss. Let's give it everything we have, he said. Yes, they are in desperate need to grow their business, but with the price war in China, it is not easy, as NIO did grow their deliveries by 12%, but their revenue was down 4%, and net losses up 11%, and lost $720 million in Q3 alone. So they hope they can get to profitability by 2026, or things are starting to look very bad, even according to their own CEO. And BYD will come out with its next generation Blade battery in 2025. BYD's next generation Blade battery will improve the range of the vehicle and extend its life cycles of the battery itself, an executive said. So, as we have said many times before, EVs are as bad as they will ever be. They will only get better from here on out. And BYD is showing their next move in the battery space. Nice. And we got a great example of why XAI can do stuff that no one else can, like putting up the world's biggest supercomputer cluster in just 19 days, because Elon is there helping them to improve as fast as possible, as iBad wrote on X. Example of why XAI is a truly special place to work at. Recently, Elon took time to hear a 5-minute presentation from everyone in the company about what they're working on, with everyone going into as much detail as possible. He gave feedback to every single team member on what they are doing and how to help make Grok better. Elon spent 18 hours totally with the team on this. No other leader cares so much about making their team successful, and the results speak for themselves. Yes, Elon is such a dedicated leader. And he also said that XAI will start making an AI computer games. Now that could be very interesting. Can't wait to learn more about that. And we have talked a lot about how legacy automakers are firing people and closing plants in an attempt to survive this EV switch. But that has made the unions very mad, so that is not making it any easier for the legacy automakers. The largest union in Germany threatened this week Volkswagen with strikes across Germany beginning as soon as Monday. But that is not the only one. Ford, that I reported on last week, is also going to cut employees by 14% as the sales are shrinking in Europe. But AG Metal don't care about that. They don't want Ford to fire anyone in the factory in Cologne because, as they said, in our view, this would be an incremental death. Yes, but how the hell should Ford and the others be able to survive if they are not allowed to fire people when most of them are running with 40% over capacity? This will not end well. And Will from Tesla Jigsaw made a great video this week of the mess the so-called activist made in the forest at the Tesla Berlin factory. I can highly recommend you check out the whole video, but he did write a little overview here on X. Tesla's Giga Berlin eco-terrorists have left hazardous waste in the forest, left 9 buckets of poo, wasted 8 months of police time, committed arson, injured police officers, all in protest to Tesla using half of the water of that of the local asparagus farm. What a terrific bunch of humans. Yes, they have only shown they were not there because of environmental issues. They were only there to hurt Tesla.
Yes, imagine how broken your brain must be to want to stop Tesla, of all companies, from progressing into the future. Yet down the road a giant industrial coal mine is just dandy. It's almost as if they weren't protesting for environmental reasons at all. Now, where's my tinfoil hat gone?
And Tesla's refreshed Model 3 get yet another great review, as Drive Australia wrote. There's no arguing that Tesla's Model 3 sits atop of the EV world. Its blend of performance, technology, efficiency, and driving range, one that few, if any, electric car can match. Now more affordable than ever, the updated Tesla Model 3 has improved and refreshed key areas of Australia's best-selling sedan. Yes, not EV, just the best-selling sedan. Is better and cheaper than ever before. I think Tesla will do alright down under. And AJ wrote on X, after Tesla made a new referral program for the rest of the year, I think Tesla's 515,000 Q4 deliveries are now in the bag. Following this reward, changing influencers like Sawyer, Omar, many others can earn $1,000 just by people using their referral code. Hundreds of them will work overtime to get people to buy Tesla now. It's a costly but brilliant move by Tesla. In essence, Tesla activate thousands of freelance salespeople, and some like Sawyer and Omar have hundreds of thousands of followers. And some say Tesla should do more ads. Yes, they just make advertising a little bit different. But basically, everywhere you look right now, Tesla is making some sort of incentive for its customers. They are definitely going for that 515,000 units in Q4. And Joseph wrote on X, as a passenger for the past 900 miles, I can definitely say that Zach's post about full self-driving version 12.5.5.3 is spot on. Full self-driving has handled just everything imaginable. A car on the shoulder, it moves over. A slow semi-truck, it smoothly overtakes and exits the passing lane. Police blockades on the freeway, it takes the exit without hesitation. And that is just scratching the surface. I've never felt this comfortable or safe in a vehicle ever. It's driving better than anyone I know, especially over long stretches on the interstate. It doesn't get tired, it doesn't get drunk, it doesn't get emotional, it just drives forever. Yep, and version 13 is coming very soon, as Hoke wrote on X as well. Version 13 is looking fire. This is about to get wild. And Joe Tagmeyer also shared some pictures of the Cybercab driving around with the Model 3 following it. Nice to see them training the Cybercab as well. And AJ updated this chart here and wrote, Tesla is sailing away from all the other pure EV makers in terms of cash generation. Excluding Tesla, the shown companies combined $79 billion since inception, according to the SEC filing, and remain cash flow negative. Many have even eliminated cash flow disclosure. Yep, no one is doing it as well as Tesla did. And we can also see that on this chart, where Tesla was the fourth most profitable vehicle maker globally and saw one of the largest year-on-year profitability increases. And Lucid is just the biggest loser of them all. So, sorry Peter, please don't compare your stuff to any other company that is actually earning money on the product that you are losing billions of dollars on. Everyone can make a great product if cost is not an issue. The real challenge is making a good product with profits. Don't look like Lucid will ever get there. Remember, Lucid was founded a year before Tesla. Yeah, it's not looking great for Lucid. And we can also take a look at the BEV deliveries for the first 3 quarters globally if people are doubting that Tesla is doing great. Yes, they are still the biggest BEV makers in the world. And yes, you will find Lucid somewhere down there in the bottom. But this also illustrates very nicely how small someone like Ford or many of the other legacy automakers in general are compared to Tesla. And Tesla also opened 146 charging stalls on just November the 28th. So in just one day. But that was just one day, Lars. Yes, but the day before they opened 86 stalls. Wonder how many Electrify America has installed this week. And the California governor is trying to screw Tesla over, saying if the tax credits get removed by the new president, they will make their own in California, but not include Tesla. I personally don't think this will ever be passed, but still, Tesla is the biggest car manufacturer in California, and I thought the politicians had learned from Biden's mistake of screwing Elon over at the EV summit, but I guess not. But that's their funeral. And before we end off with a bit of fun, I just want to make a quick shout out to my newest supporters of this channel. My 2 new YouTube members, as something as a first name, and then something like Magnuson. And then we have BGF, and my new Patreon producer, Myro Osimi, and Gino0411. Thank you so much for your support. I am doing this all by myself, but you guys are all the producers of this new show. Thank you. And let's end off with a bit of fun. This is still just fun, giving people a little scare with I feel good. That is all we have time for in this new show. Hope you enjoyed it. If you did, don't forget to hit that like button. It really helps this video out a lot so others can find it on YouTube. And if you did like it, maybe you want to consider hitting that subscribe button, notification bell, so you don't miss out on future episodes just like this one. And if you're already a subscriber to the channel, thank you so much for the support. But if you want to support the channel even more, remember you can, for as little as $1, become a patron of this channel, or become a member of the YouTube channel to get a shout out as some extra perks like early access, ad-free versions of my videos, exclusive videos. So hit the members button or check out Patreon to find out more. And don't forget to follow me on X. I post pretty much all the news as it comes out and a lot more. And check out the merch store to get some merchandise and support the show. It is also possible to support the show without becoming a member or a patron. There is a donation option down below or on my website bestintesla.com. You can also become an executive producer and get news articles, exclusive videos, behind the scenes, and access to all my research, charts and spreadsheet also on bestintesla.com, or as simple as hitting the super like button. And thank you for watching. And until next time, take care out there and be nice.